Hello and welcome to another skillup.gg video. My name is Vesp. At SkillUp, we troll YouTube for the best quality gaming tutorial videos so that you don't have to. Check out our database over at skill-up.gg. Today, we're going to be doing a follow-up video to my earlier video on weapon testing, which I've linked in the description below. Since then, I've been really fortunate to have had the chance to speak directly to the lead weapons designer of The Division, Frederick Thylander, who has given me some further clarification on some of the key mechanics that affect gunplay in The Division. I wanted to share some of that discussion with you today as it relates to a really interesting mechanic that I mentioned earlier known as 0-point return. Now, I have a ton of recorded weapon testing footage, so if you do find this useful, please remember to like and subscribe, as I plan to release a slew of videos between now and then when the Division is launched, and of course beyond that. So with that, let's get to the topic at hand, 0-point return. So for those of you who watched my previous video on the topic, you'll be fairly aware of this already, but I'll cover it briefly here. In The Division, all guns have a degree of recoil, which is the angle at which your reticle moves away from its starting point when you fire a shot. Guns also have the opposite effect of recoil, in fact, which is a mechanic most commonly referred to as 0-point return. So this is actually the degree to which the game tries to automatically return your reticle to the position it was before you fired the shot. So here I demonstrate this in detail with the weapon that has the highest amount of 0-point return in the game, and that's the assault rifle. Here you see that I'm emptying the magazine at larger and larger rates, and that the reticle continues to automatically recenter itself. So to be super clear, the movement back to center that you are seeing here isn't me at all. All I'm doing is pulling the trigger. This is 100% the game that is auto-correcting and trying to recenter my reticle. So we can see here that 0-point return is definitely a present and strong stat on a weapon like an assault rifle. But what about other weapons? Well, let's look at the shotgun to see how 0-point return can function very differently. Here you see me firing rounds with the shotgun the same way that I did with the assault rifle, just pulling the trigger and not trying to correct for the recoil. What's really interesting here is that the game is making no effort to return my reticle to its original point. The weapon kicks and the reticle just stays there, well away from where it started. So from this alone, we can already see that there are some very different patterns at work when we talk about 0-point return. But through some testing, I've been able to confirm that there are some consistent behaviors across weapon types. So to summarize those, weapons with high 0-point return value include assault rifles and light machine guns, moderate 0-point return, submachine guns, and low 0-point return, shotguns and marksman rifles. So basically this means that weapon types are going to perform in a very different way with regards to how much the reticle returns to the center when you fire them. So it'll be very important to incorporate this into your playstyle, particularly when you're frequently switching between weapons. So when I first learned about this stat, I still had heaps of questions about how it functioned, such as whether or not 0-point return was constant within each weapon category, or if it changed from gun to gun. So I actually reached out to Massive's Thylander, the lead weapon designer of The Division, and asked him, and he very generously responded with the following. 0-point return is a fixed set of tweaks per weapon type, or in some cases per weapon, that isn't affected by any stat in the game. So after some further conversation, he then went on to say, return functions are fixed tweaks on the weapon, insomuch that stats don't affect them. They vary per gun too. Is that crystal? It was crystal, but if it doesn't quite make sense, I'll break it down for you. Point 1. The 0-point return value is broadly similar for every gun within its own archetype. Number 2. There will be some exceptions to this, where a certain weapon will have a different 0-point return value from other weapons within its own archetype. So I expect that highly sought after high-end gear will likely involve some tweaks to the 0-point return rating in order to keep it balanced within PvE and PvP settings. Point 3, no stats affect 0-point return, meaning that we won't be able to get any weapons, mods, gear, or consumables that will increase the amount of 0-point return rating that we can benefit from. So this is actually a really important and interesting clarification about weapons and weapon stats and how they work in The Division. So we now know that 0-point return is going to generally feel the same for each type of gun we use, but we know to watch out for some exceptions. It's going to be really interesting to see whether or not these exceptions are actually buffs to the 0-point return rating on some weapons, which would make them more powerful than they otherwise were. So anyway, guys, that's it. That's 0 point return in a nutshell. It's a hidden stat that has a really huge impact on the feel of guns in the division. So it's important to understand this stat if you're looking to really master the game. Again, I'd really like to thank Thylander for reaching out to me to clarify this and so much more. We actually had a much larger chat, as you could probably tell from the black bars that I was using to hide elements of the Twitter conversation. I will be sharing more of that stuff over the coming weeks and months, so please remember to like and subscribe, and you'll be notified when those videos become available. Until then, guys, thanks very much for watching, and see you over at skillup.gg. Bye-bye.